Well, listen, we're going to jump in and review this morning because we're still talking about our words. So I'm in your notes. I know we have a couple first-timers today. You're going to feel like you're drinking from a fire hydrant, but stick with the notes and don't worry about the past. That's a good principle anyway, and we'll catch you up. But we're working our way through the book of James. We're talking about all the important things that we need to navigate life as God is on this mission that we said to make all of our broken parts whole. So last week we focused on James 1:19 and 20. We're going to stay there for a little minute today, but it said this you know, my beloved brethren, that's us, that everybody included, must be, let's read it together, out loud and proud, quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. For the anger of man just does not achieve the righteousness of God. So we began looking at what I like to call this dance or this waltz of quick, slow, slow, quick, slow, slow, quick, slow, slow, that I hope you can remember, that begins with being quick to listen. And we said that listening to God and creating quiet and space so we can hear his whispers, it's really critical to staying on the best path. If you go to church here this weekend, there's a woman who preaches for us, and her name is April Farmer. She gave such a great message that included listening to God. So if you didn't get to hear that, be sure and grab that. But we also saw how listening is key to having healthy relationships along the way. And I like to say, boy, if you love me, you'll listen to me, because listening, it shows love, it shows honor, and it shows respect to the other person. So the big question I have for everybody is, how did that go? Did you find your two people? Were you able to listen to them? You know, often I'll find when I commit to something like that, it gets harder. You know, it's just, I don't know why that has to go hand in hand. But I love what it says in Proverbs 17, verses 27 and 28. It says, whoever restrains his words is a smart person, has knowledge. And he who has I love this, cool spirit is a man of understanding. Even here's our word again, circle it, fool who keeps silent is considered wise. So if you ever want to be considered smart in a meeting or with a group of people, just don't say anything. Yeah, so whoever keeps silent, we have so many words, y'all, so many words. Whoever keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he's actually deemed intelligent. So there you go. If we went away with that today, we'd probably be in a better place. So if you're listening, for example, to a friend or a family member, just go on and on and on. A lot of words. Even if they're getting on your last nerve, please use caution before you hastily say something that you may regret later. It's like that tube of toothpaste. You squirt that stuff out and you can't suck it back in there. So because our words, they're really only as effective as the way in which they're delivered, yeah? And even then, even if we have the right words and they're delivered in the right spirit at the right time, we still have to earn the right to be heard. Now, last week we said James, he's not a linear writer. We saw that. He writes in a circular fashion, but he's also kind of a visual guy, and we're really going to see that in spades today. So he likes to write in pictures, and in typical James fashion, he revisits this use and misuse of our speech again in chapter 3, and he uses 3 really powerful illustrations. So we're going to pick it up there in James 3:3. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they're so large and they're driven by strong winds, they're steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it does a lot. It makes great boast. So the tongue, it may be small, but it's incredibly powerful in its ability to make an impact or change a direction for us and the direction, of course, of the people we're speaking to. And now I'm not a horse person, but some of my friends are, and they've taught me a little bit about this thing. Who knows what this is? It's a bit, yeah, it's a horse's bit. And it may look simple and kind of small, but it's actually extremely powerful in being able to steer or control or stop the direction of a horse, no matter what its size. I mean, here's a picture of a horse with a bit in it, but it can steer, I think a Clydesdale is like 1,500 pounds, but a 1,200 pounds horse, no problem with this really small thing. And then there's a rudder. I think of a picture of a rudder, but there's a rudder on a ginormous ship, even like a cruise ship does the same thing. So this is a picture of something very small being so powerful that it could direct a ship's course or change its entire direction as well. Now, in these cases, the direction, it's powerful, but it's happy, right? It's positive. But then James goes on to paint a third picture with not so great of an outcome. So here we go. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It can corrupt the whole body, set the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. So that's pretty strong language. But I can tell you, you know that I lived in Colorado for quite a while. And y'all, the devastation that would take place from one person being careless, with a match or with a cigarette or something, or not putting out their campfire, it would take down acres and acres and acres, and it would go from this beautiful green to this just black and barren, and it takes years for that to come back again, to recover. And what I know is that some of us even now can feel the impact of words that were spoken to us. Some of you have words, and I do too, that still ring in our ears, and they've made us super sensitive when other situations come up. I've had worse things said to me, but one that rings in my ear, I don't know, I bet I hear this maybe every 6 months. It wounded me so deeply because someone said to me in just a super condescending way, like, "What were you thinking?" Like, basically they were saying, "You idiot. What were you thinking?" I don't know that. I need more therapy on that one. But anyway, just came back to me again. But that's why James goes on to say in verses 7 and 8, all kind of animals, birds, reptiles, sea creatures are being tamed. They've been tamed by mankind. But no human on their own, no human being can tame the tongue. It's a restless evil full of deadly poison. With the tongue, for example, we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings who've been made in God's likeness. Out of the same ever-loving mouth come both praise and cursing. So my brothers and sisters, this shouldn't be like this. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? My brothers and sisters, can a fig tree pop out olives, or a grapevine produce figs? Neither can a salt spring produce fresh water. So the tongue situation, it's complicated, isn't it? We know this. I remember one time leaving here after teaching Bible study. It may have even been a worship week, and going to the doctor's office. Now, this is a challenge these days. And I remember getting there. The appointment was off. The paperwork, not so much. And then they had me do the same paperwork again that I'd already done at least 100 times, right? That you fill out over and over. Everything was off. And I can remember in the beginning being relatively patient with the situation. And I never said anything ugly with my words. But I can tell you that my tone said something different to this person behind the desk who probably had nothing to do with anything that happened. Have you been there? Have you ever left Bible study, or you left church and you're just praising Jesus, and then you got in the car and somebody says a little something, and then you get angry or hurt or frustrated, and then you say the thing. And then after you say the thing, you go, good gravy, I can't even believe I just said that. Y'all are looking at me like I'm the only one. I don't believe it. So Jesus identifies the source in Matthew 12. He says this: the mouth, Tanya, is just kind of full of what the heart speaks what the heart is full of. Another translation says it this way: for a man's heart determines his speech. And doctors say that if you have numbness or pain going on in your arm or shortness of breath, you should probably get your heart checked, yeah. And similarly, if you're continually negative or condescending or critical in your words in general or toward a specific person, it's probably time to examine what's going on in your heart and deal with it there first. Because the truth is, those words are having a deeper impact than we're often even aware of. Now, last week in your groups, you read in Proverbs 18:21, the tongue actually has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. So words can have this wild quality that needs to be tamed, because they can either deliver poison or they can bring so much life. They can speak so much life. Proverbs 15:4 says they can either soothe or crush. The soothing tongue is a tree of life, but a perverse tongue, it actually, underline this, it'll crush a spirit. Proverbs 12:18 pictures our tongue as reckless swords, or on the other hand, a super wise healer. The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. And all of this, you guys, is related to the third slow in the dance, which is slow to become angry. So James 1:19-20, it says this: quick to listen, slow to speak. It's slow to what? You say it? Slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. And I love what it says in Ecclesiastes 7:9. It says, do not be quickly provoked in your spirit, for anger resides in the lap of what again? Yeah, if you did a word study in the Bible of the word fool, it's amazing how many times it talks about fools. And there's a lot of seeing myself in that. All right, so first of all, here's the thing. Is this not true? We live in a world where people get angry over things that just don't matter, and then they ignore the things that really do matter. And I believe so many people right now are going around in this low-grade state of anger, just waiting for it to just pop out. You know, I love this picture of it with this friendly dog here. Okay, so Angela pointed out that is this the transformed me? Like I had red on and that's a blonde dog? I'm like, no, I didn't even think about it. Anyway, that happened. But that dog was probably angry before it got in the car, right? Like that just set it off. Like it was like simmering under there. And I don't know what you look like when you get angry. I hope I don't look like that. But one way you would know if I was angry is that you'd find me pacing. Like I'm walking it out. I'm so just walking it out. And the word anger in the Bible, it's the word O-R-G-E, orge. It's defined as a natural emotion. It's a natural thing. It's an impulse or a disposition. It carries the idea of being provoked, or it could be an agitation of the soul. But we know not all anger is bad. Certainly Jesus was angry when he overturned the tables of the money changers in the temple. And he said he was angry with the Pharisees when they repeatedly tried to trick him. They were always out to get him. But the tense, this is important in the original language, the tense of the word anger used in these cases meant it was a short or a temporary, not a lingering or a simmering rage or anger. And it was a perfect example of giving your anger here to something bigger, something evil or something unjust. I mean, certainly we're to be angry about the evil that exists in our world, and there's plenty of it. So anger in and of itself is not the issue. But what we do with it is where it can all fall apart. So the question is, where is your anger leading you? It's always going to take you somewhere. We know that. What path is your anger taking you on? Ephesians 4:26 and 27 says this: in your anger, so the assumption is, you're probably at some point you're going to get angry. In your anger, and it's that tense of immediate anger, don't sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry, in a continued state of anger, and do not give the devil a foothold. And that's important. Underline that word foothold. What's a foothold? Well, a foothold is a firm or a secure position that provides a base for further advancement. Exactly what the devil is looking for, as we'll see in just a couple weeks. But in this case, the anger has an emotional hook attached to it. And typically, that hook is either it's a blocked goal or an expectation or something that's plain old unfair. How many of you hate unfair? I really don't like unfair. Maybe it's a wound from the past. So the warning sign for me and for this is if something should be a 2 on my anger meter and it feels more like a 10, you know what I'm talking about? I need to do a little more research into what's going on, or it's just not going to go well for me. So one doctor says that is when you might want to do like an emotional CT scan and identify what the source of the problem is. So for example, someone disappoints me. And I can tell I'm upset, so I'm a little hot and bothered. My heart rate's up. Maybe I'm panting about it, or maybe I'm not breathing, or in my case, I'm walking around a lot. I'm pacing, but I'm aware of something's changed, something's going on in my body. And I simply ask myself the question, okay, so what is it right now, Tanya, that you're feeling angry about? And then I name it. I say what it is. For example, I'm angry because someone isn't doing their part, all right? And then I ask the question, is my level of anger proportionate to this situation? Okay. If not, I need to ask, well, what is it hooked to? Am I overtired right now? Am I stressed at work? Is it PMS? Is it one of those pauses? Is it too much sugar? Is it poor self-care? Is it being taken advantage of in another situation and I'm moving it into this one? Maybe it's a block goal or expectation. And of course, we want to do this sooner versus later because we know that lots and lots of poor decisions are made under the influence of anger. So how many of us have done this? We've typed up a little email or we've done a little text in anger and then we've hit that send button and then we hear this sound, that there it goes, and we're like, oh, shoot a monkey. I wish I hadn't hit that, right? You've done it. Or we've made decisions in anger with our children and then we found ourselves yelling or arguing with a 3-year-old. Why would we do that? Or maybe a 15-year-old, a little bit easier to do. And a couple months ago, I was at my grandson's preschool 4-year-old t-ball game. You probably know where I'm going with this. 4-year-olds playing t-ball. And there's a mom. It's amazing what's going on with this mom. She's yelling at everybody. You would have thought it was professional baseball in the playoffs, like the World Series. I mean, she's on the ref, she's on the coach, she's yelling, this little guy's up there just trying to get that ball with the bat. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And what do we know about that woman? She was probably angry about something before she got there because there was a lot going on the field. So many people are living right now in a low-grade rage that impacts others. And then there's a kind of a version of this. It's a spin-off, and it's called being annoyed. Yeah, just plain old being annoyed. And all of us are annoyed. I get it by certain things or habits that other people have. I just love smacking. That's one of my favorites. But we all have particular people maybe that totally annoy us, who get on our last nerve. Y'all are so quiet. But guess what? Odds are we get on someone's last nerve too. Just saying, could be. Proverbs 12:16. What's the first word? Circle it again. It's just coming up. Fools show their annoyance at once, but the prudent overlook an insult or anything that annoys them. Again, we live in a world where people also get annoyed with things that really don't matter. You're at a restaurant and you get in line and you get the little buzzer doodah, and all of a sudden someone who came in way after you, their buzzer goes up first, and you're like, what in the world? And you're giving them this side eye because you're annoyed. That's happened. It's all about perspective, isn't it? First world problems. There's people starving all around the world. We're worried about when that buzzer's going to go off so I can get my food. I'll never forget, I went to Haiti with 2 of my daughters. It's so much devastation and so much poverty. And my middle daughter was working as a hostess part-time at the Ritz-Carlton, so in their restaurant, lots of fancy food and things going on. And I really didn't give her enough time to decompress. She probably shouldn't have gone back to work right away when we got back. But she did, and she called me. I think we'd been back 2 days, and she called me on the phone. She was whispering. She's in the other room. She says, Mom. She's crying. She goes, I can't go back in there. I can't go back in there. And I said, what's going on? And she said, I just can't stand it after being in Haiti and everybody's so hungry. And this lady, she just sent her food back because she didn't like the presentation. You get it, right? All right. I'm going to finish with this great perspective that we get on Quick, Slow from Colossians 4:6. This is my favorite verse of the day today. It says this: let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you'll know how to answer everyone, to have a conversation with everyone. So salt, in the context of Bible times, it was used as a preservative. It was used for healing. It was used as a disinfectant and to purify. And of course, salt brings out, the best flavor. So God is asking that our conversations be full of grace and be ones that bring out the best in the other person and each other. So a great place, I think, to actually practice this is in our speech patterns. So some of us have developed certain styles of relating or ways of speaking to say maybe our husbands, our moms, our sisters, a friend, a coworker, a child. And I think maybe we need to raise our level of awareness on these patterns. So I'm going to ask us to listen to some personal sound bites of ourselves this week, because often it's about the tone, isn't it, that we speak in? Maybe you tend to take on a condescending or a judgmental tone with certain people, or you have a habit of not letting some people finish their thoughts or habitually step on their words. And there may actually be a toxicity level that you don't even see because it's become normal or habit for you. But the truth is, probably you need a course correction there. You know, I have a friend, okay, I'm gonna talk about some friends here. None of them live here. You do not know them. They live in other cities. So I have a friend in another city. She will not let her husband finish a story. In fact, she won't even let him tell a story. Like, he's about 2 sentences in, and she's like correcting the time or the place or whatever. No, and we weren't there. And we weren't. I mean, that poor man, he cannot tell a story without her correcting or changing it. I have another friend. She just turned 30. And whenever I'm with her and her mom's around, I tell you, her mom talks to her like she's 10. It's like, oh, stop the madness. We got a grown woman going on here. I worked for someone in Dallas who the style of relating that they have, it was always with this kind of a edgy sarcasm or cynicism. No matter what they said, it was like a little dig. It was almost mean, but not quite. You know what I'm talking about? It's none of it. I know this is not any of us in this room. But these are examples, you guys, of negative speech patterns that can be developed. They are not salty in the biblical sense of the word. They might be salty in another sense of the word, but we're not using slang right now. So this actually gets on my last nerve, especially when I'm overhear it, when I'm doing something else, like in a store, when I hear people doing it to each other. And there's something about it that compels me to step into it. I know, this is probably dangerous. Someday somebody's just gonna go, you shouldn't stop that. But I remember I was in a store, and there was a mom and daughter situation going on. I think the mom didn't like what the daughter was picking out to wear. I think that was the context going on. But they were so ugly, like being so ugly to each other. And I thought, I cannot stand this anymore. So I thought, well, I'm just gonna break that up. So I did not know them. And so I thought, okay, here's the plan. So I looked at the daughter and I said, oh my goodness, I love your shirt. That's my favorite color. I love to wear that color. I love purple. That's the best color on me. I said, I went with the daughter. Where did you get that? And then we got this big discussion about the shirt and colors and all the things. And finally, everybody was living happily after that. I don't know what they did when I left, but anyway, it was good for the moment. But here's the thing. If we're going to bring the salt, right, then we've got to look at our own hearts. We've got to see why we're speaking in a certain way to a certain people and what need in us is being met inappropriately by relating that way. And then we got to set out to make some changes, to own our part in it, whatever it is, and just get on a new path, to make a course correction, and then to ask God for the wisdom in how to do that, because essentially, if we don't, we're just going to be acting a fool. I mean, I didn't make that up, the Bible did. So you have salt shakers tonight, which I'm super excited about. I think they're just the cutest things ever. But you're gonna take those home, and they're gonna be a reminder to bring the salt so that when people leave us and we walk away, they think, oh, I'm so glad I ran into you today. I'm so glad I talked to you. I'm so glad I got to work with you. I'm so glad I got to come home to you tonight. And so some of the tables, I think they're on this side, already have salt in little funnels. So as you guys finish filling yours, would you pass them on to the rest of the room? And now don't just set this next to the person who gets on your last nerve, because then you'd have to explain it. Just be so awkward, you know. So put it near you. This is a reminder to you. It's all about you, okay? I love y'all so much. This is hard. I get it. I'm talking to myself here. Let's pray about it. God, we need you so badly. And would you just show us where we may be off course? We want to hear your wisdom in this. And we do want to bring the salt, not just because you've asked us to, but because we know how much it blesses us when people do that with us, and we want to be a blessing and bring grace to other people, and we desperately need you to do this in Jesus' name. Amen. Love y'all. Have a great discussion.
All right, ladies. I hope you had a great discussion. It's always so awkward to stop you guys in the middle. I feel so bad because I could just stand up here and see that you guys are having a great discussion, which warms our heart. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week. A couple quick reminders. Next week, we are not meeting for spring break, so do not come. If there is anybody that's missing from your table, will you please shoot them a text and remind them? We will meet the following week on the 18th. But what a great time during that week gap that we have is to revisit weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4 of your notes. Spend some time with God. There are so many Bible verses in those weeks, so whip out your Bible and start highlighting them and just see where God, what he speaks on your heart and your mind and what will influence you this season and help you just flourish in your faith. So definitely encourage you to do that while we're on a break. If you guys during cleanup, gentle with your stuff, but if you could just like shake off all that salt before you fold your tablecloth, that would be super helpful. Drive careful tonight, and we will see you back here on the 18th.